Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, hope you're all doing alright out there. So recently I put a video up to my patrons basically saying how we're not going to be doing the Q&As anymore because they got a bit stale, but also how sometimes the questions people gave were really long, and it's like that could have actually been its own video because it was a great question. Well, what I'm doing is I'm taking questions from patrons and turning these into entire videos because you've got some great questions, and today's question is from one of my patrons, David, and it says, "Hey cult leader, it's not a cult. I hear often from people that eventually I will drop the bike or have some sort of accident. From my journey of obtaining the license and getting the motorbike, this was the most off-putting, and it seems that huge majority of people do not even consider motorbikes due to this. Is this something that is given and can eventually happen, or is there still bikers that have had many years of experience and never had any major accident?" Hope it makes sense. Not a native English cult member. It's not a cult! So, cult member David, I mean, it's not a cult, I have some birthday cake. This is a tricky question because I'm going to have to be completely honest with you, but also we're obviously going to have to ask the audience to see if there's anyone out there who hasn't ever had a major incident or anything like that. Now, I know for sure there are people who have never had major crashes, and there are people who have not dropped bikes. There's a few people that have never dropped a bike and never had a crash. Those people probably don't ride bikes, because the expression of there are those that have been down and those that will go down is true, and the realities of it is, yes, you can get hurt on a bike, but I don't want to put people off bikes. That's just a matter of fact of, you're doing something that's slightly risky, and I can totally understand why, the risk of getting hurt or the risk of crashing is something that puts lots of people off motorcycles. In fact, it's why people call them death machines, and I have been badly hurt on one. But there is so much that you can do to avoid problems. So first things first, think about dropping bikes. You may just get lucky and never drop the bike. You may not, and you may drop the bike. It normally depends on whether it normally happens when you're trying to do something weird, or you're trying to go over some gravel or something like that where you're not really thinking about what you're doing. If you always think about what you're doing, and with the experience and practice of riding a bike, you won't do things like grab the front brake too hard or things like that. So I don't think it really matters about dropping bikes. Just don't do silly things like trying to get on it from the wrong side, or normally it's like over braking to a stop with the handlebars off to the side that causes people to drop the bikes. There's not a lot you can do about it. It can happen. I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't be put off motorcycling about dropping a bike, because get crash protection on it and it will be okay. That's really what that stuff's absolutely amazing for. I mean, yes, it does protect bikes and crashes, but just for being able to drop a bike, I mean, I've dropped a 1000cc bike that wasn't mine, brand new demo bike, and because of the RNG bungs on it, it didn't even have a mark. Well, I had a slight mark on one of the bungs, but they were like, don't worry about it, does not matter. The things I did catch that bike and lay it down rather than drop it. But anyway, I'm going to put that one aside, because it is what it is. At the end of the day, it might cost you a few quid to fix it, but it's fine. Getting hurt, having crashes, yes, it happens. You can't get away from it. And it doesn't matter how good of a rider you are, you can't avoid it happening ever. You can't remove that risk. However, what you can do is mitigate it by not doing dumb things. Lots of trying to do stunt riding will end up making you crash more likely. Riding too fast and beyond your skill level, that will also end up getting you into a crash. If you just don't get overly confident and just progress your skills, then yeah, I really think you can mitigate a lot of the risks of riding the bike. Unfortunately, next to that is the bigger risk, which is the other people on the road. You just have to learn to deal with them and not get mad at them, and understand that being right and dead is still a bad thing. So even if you had the right of way, don't go chasing people, don't get mad at people, don't get involved in it, just keep away from it. If you see a bad driver or someone cuts you up, just get away from them, because you don't want to be near them, because they're erratic already, they've proved that. And it only takes a little swipe to smash you off your bike. And as we've seen in recent years, I've said about this for a long time, in the past I don't think people were too willing to do it. I have seen so many videos of a biker being aggressive towards a car, this is mainly in America to be honest, and the person in the car just goes boop, and they're now on the floor in varying amounts of pain. So I've been riding for 15, 16 years, I've had 3 crashes in that time. One was a month after I started riding, which was into a fence, and it was my fault. The second one was a couple of years later when I got rear-ended. And then 12 years ago now, can you believe it's been 12 years, I had a very serious crash. And that wasn't my fault. But, as I've said, and there are videos that you can go and watch called things like how to avoid near misses, and a few of the videos in my tips for new rider playlist, it talks about the fact that there is so much that you can do to mitigate your risks. And although legally I was completely not at fault in that crash, I would say now, with experience, I was naive to think that I could continue driving past that person without even slowing down, expecting them to not turn across my path. That's all you can really say to it. And that playlist kind of proves the point that I've been trying to encourage people to get motorcycles for years. Because honestly, I feel like one of the most risky things for people's lives is never really living. And riding motorcycles is amazing. And if you have, problems with anxiety and depression and stuff like that, this machine will do things you wouldn't believe. Things that no antidepressant can, in my experience. I'm not saying you should stop taking them and get a motorcycle. I'm saying you should do both if you're on them. Motorcycling without other people on the road, just the actual act of riding a motorcycle is, I don't think it is that risky necessarily, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to push it the limits, then you're pushing the limits. But if you're riding comfortably around town, if you're just doing the normal thing, it's not that risky. But when you involve moving walls that don't like to tell you where they're going, or don't look at you, or don't look for you, or just drive out erratically, there is an inherent risk. But as I say, there is so much you can do to mitigate the risks. And the way I can prove this out is that in my early days of riding, near misses, or what you would call near misses, quite regularly. Every now and then, I can't believe what this person did. Now, the driving standard since then has degraded massively, hugely. People just don't indicate, they're just crap at driving. Since COVID, it's been ridiculous. But I haven't had any more near misses, or in fact I haven't had any near misses in a very long time, because I changed the way that I ride. Now, if I'm not having near misses, and I used to, and the only thing that's changed, well, apart from the people's driving getting worse, is my approach, then I have obviously massively reduced the risks. And a lot of people are causing their own risks in riding by just getting a little bit too over the top, a bit too aggressive sometimes. For some reason, the bravado from a bike is adverse to its CC. Someone's on a 50 or a 125, they for some reason can be very, very aggressive and feel like they own the road, and someone does one slight injustice to them, they lose their mind and scream and shout and it's on GoPro, it's on GoPro, and then you get all the compilation channels saying in the comments, can I use this in my compilation, can I use this in my compilation, and then they put it online to show everyone how much of a dick bikers can be. I'm sorry, that's just the reality of it. They rarely go for videos where the biker is innocent or entirely innocent, because there's no controversy in that. Controversy forms discussions and comments, and that grows engagement and the growth of the channels. So well done to all the people who give them their videos. You're literally giving them the ability to make money off of your videos while also ruining our reputation. And I have been saying this for a long time. It was called, there's a video called Angry Bikers or something like that. If you search Spice 110 Angry Bikers, you'll find it, where I talk specifically about the reaction channels. And it's that sort of mentality you see on the reaction channels, where they kind of goad themselves into accidents and incidents. So now I've waffled and gone all over the place a bit, but it's difficult to get around the fact that yes, riding motorcycles is dangerous, but then so is living. And you can really mitigate the risks to yourself as to how dangerous it is. And if you're thinking about getting a motorcycle and that's something that concerns you, I just say don't worry about it. Just believe in your ability. If you're good at doing things, if you can ride a push bike really well, or you're very skilled at something, if you can learn that skill, you can learn this skill. And trust me, idiots can do this and not crash. But when smart people do idiotic things, then they may crash. So now I'm going to pass this off to the audience because, well, obviously I have crashed. I'd like to know, who out there has been riding bikes for what amount of time, and have you never dropped a bike? Have you never crashed? Be interested to see what the percentage is. Maybe say if you have dropped bikes, or how many. Everyone who rides pretty much has dropped a bike. As they say, it's those that have and those that will. There will always be outliers that never do. They just put springs on the side of their bike so it bounces back up. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. If you'd like to help support this channel, or you'd like to have a question answered like this, then please consider joining my Patreon. Links in the description. I would really appreciate it. Until the next one, bye bye.